So I think it's safe to say that Therapist Blood Betty has, of course, really changed the meta in Idle Heroes. What it's really done is she's solidified herself as the most dominant hero when it comes to PvP. Now, most people in this game nowadays, you don't really care about PvP. It's the end game content, and it's kind of just side content. There aren't even that many like super great rewards for getting in the highest ranks. But one that a lot of people like to flex, and we kind of talked about it yesterday with the overall rankings of power of all the different guilds on Android and iOS, is Ace Championship. We have the finals here to show you guys here today, and there's something you'll notice with all of these battles. There's specific heroes that reign supreme. You're going to see Hyperspace Hunter Ilamox, you're going to see Therapist Blood Betty, you're even going to see Starwing Jaras making a reemergence with Betty on their team as well. You're also going to notice a lot of people have a ridiculous amount of power even compared to my account. So let's jump into it. Let's show you guys kind of what most people are using. I wish I could show you actually in combat replays, but you'll notice even heroes like G-Ster are really not popping up anymore on the best of teams, and he used to. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's jump right into it. So as you guys can see in the previous Ace Championship, it was before Waffles and Revenant kind of merged. Omega Project was, number one, Utopia at number two. This is something that's been kind of a common theme overall. You'll see these here. Revenant is actually this one behind us right here. You see Omega Project and Core, Utopia, always somewhere up the top. Core actually winning it for once, which was crazy. But you guys can see there's a common trend. Like Omega Project is the top. Then you had like our old Waffles guild. You have Core, you have Utopia, and you got new ones popping up all over the place because, well, it's an ever-changing guild dynamic. Guilds merging, combining, trying to compete mainly against Omega Project because they got Rex, they got Jesus, they got the strongest of strongest accounts. But again, what was used to being really interesting to see was seeing things like G-Ster teams and stuff like that. Well, as you guys can see, we got lucky enough. We actually got set up on the probably easier side, I would say, of this entire bracket, whereas Utopia had to go up against a Mega Project in the round of 4. But overall, we're going to take a look at some of our teams that really did great here. So one thing that's really interesting, you'll notice in these team setups, you'll still see some where, you have this Doom Terminator Vulcan on the enemy side. You're basically surviving until he can get his weakness disclosure active off, and then you win the game. These accounts don't even have that much super powered in them, but they are able to get wins. You can see Scythe gets a lot of victories here. Again, a very similar strategy, this time with both Star Swordsman Knockman and Doom Terminator Vulcan, but that's not really as common as we kind of see nowadays. Again, one thing a lot of these teams also have is Elena, Phantom Defier Elena, a hero that I really don't have on my own account. I've been contemplating building her, but I just don't have any of the 6 heroes that I want to drop right now. But you'll see they kind of win religiously here. You can see there is a G-Ster team here trying to make the best out of a bad situation, but does get cut down pretty quickly. Again, you see a super powered team here. Again, Hyperspace Hunter Ilamox, and his core is actually probably one of the strongest PvP metas, even more so than going for the core of Origin on a Betty, which is just pretty surprising. So you got teams like that are kind of winning off. Kenshin did amazing this time, and you'll notice a very rare thing that pops up here is a Drake. Yeah, Drake is actually one that helps pick off an enemy every few rounds because it really does eat away. If you can make him survive long enough, it's great, but you can see he can't get Destiny transitions or all that stuff, so he is stuck at Origin 5. Eventually, you're not going to see any normal heroes in PvP anymore just because they're just not going to be able to compete. But again, another common thing, Betty with her power, you got Vulcan, and you have Phantom Defier Elena. They have very high levels as well, and Kenshin kind of rocked this in a lot of these. He actually finished it out here. I think he even did a lot of victories here against Chaos. this team actually did pretty good as well. Again, common denominators here: Elena, Betty. This time it has Aspen instead of Vulcan, and you can see how many victories they managed to pull out. Kenshin again with that Drake team, really interesting. I'm surprised Drake made that much of an impact. I mean, heck, look at this team. It even get cut down, and it lasted quite a while, which was cool to see here. We got some victories here. We eventually lost though. Looks like to Planner. I mean, I think our team just got weakened, and then finally the probably perceptual disorder and Elena combinations really hurt in the end. So that was kind of rough. And they went on to win a lot of battles. Even though this team is a lot weaker, they won a lot. Granted, a lot of these teams are just fodder. I usually just put one team in, to be honest, because anything past your main team really isn't going to make any difference. If anything, it might actually let the enemy team heal, which I don't do it. And again, you see Betty, you see Elena, you see Doom Terminator Vulcan, pretty much the same heroes over and over. Now, this was a good battle. It's actually not that far off. It was like a 66% win rate for, actually, no. Omega Project won fewer battles. They lost more, but again, it really just depends on who has teams left over. And it looks like Omega Project probably only has their teams put like one lineup in, whereas like Rex and Jesus and everything probably put multiple in. You see Bagel with a good victory, but Hyde got in here and just stomped a bunch. And then it ended up being a clear victory. You can kind of see it went back and forth a little bit here and there. But then you get down to the bottom here. Wayne won a bunch of battles. You see, it really was a back and forth battle. Mard actually won quite a few too. And again, you'll see a very common thing. Drake actually making a resurgence, which is really cool to see. And then, yeah, just finally they ran out of teams on the right side, whereas they still had plenty left over in Omega Project. Now, the finals were, we had a lot of teams set up. And again, it's always weird to see, like, having less, but we did lose. I want to show a couple things off in this as well, though. Jubathar had a really strong setup here. Again, even though the Betty wasn't like super overpowered strong, the team worked out good. Even had a Jara on their team to synergize. Like I said, that Jara can then come behind the Betty and hit them with multiple other CCs. So you like between this team here, there's literally like 4 or 5 different crowd controls you can be affected with, and you just can't purify them every single round. Same thing, another strong team, although these heroes are up in the 8 of their divine power, which is absolutely insane. Literally, they took a lot of wins there, and then Jesus stepped in. Jesus, my goodness. If only we could see what rating they had, like their awakening level. But again, you'll see a very bog standard team. You got Vulcan, you got that. You just have a ridiculous amount of power in Jesus' team. And Jesus literally goes on, you'll see here in a second, like he goes on and wins battles with just like 2 heroes. You can see he's taking out like full teams. Granted, they're all those secondary teams that really aren't going to be able to do anything anyway. And again, if anything, it's only letting the team probably heal up or something. Eventually goes down, and then Hyde takes over again with a very similar team. Surprisingly enough, the dodge meta seems pretty important. Having both Elena and Mystic Fairy Frey on your team seems to do quite a bit. Dak actually makes a really strong comeback here for us, wins a ton of battles, but eventually it's just not enough. Even my team, I think we only won, I don't think we even won a battle. I think we got like our butts kicked. Kenshin again, somehow winning with just a Doom Terminator Vulcan, which is cool to see. And then Rex comes in and completely demolishes. I don't even know if this was probably his main lineup or not. It might have been. It has like a couple random heroes in here, but Rex completely wrecked the house, and that's usually how the PvP meta goes. So at least we took 2nd place, but you'll notice you really don't see G-Star anymore, and everything is about Betty, Jara, Phantom Defier, Elena, Mystic Fairy Frey, Hyperspace on our Ilamok, and Scarlet Queen Halor. That's pretty much everywhere now. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let me know what you guys think about the endgame PvP meta. What do you think it might shift to in the future? And I'll see you guys next time.